right, everybody, what is going on? The Catch fam, hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight. Week 2 fantasy football is upon us, and things are already absolutely crazy. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to sit back. We're going to have some fun. We're going to talk some fantasy football, and I'm going to answer any fantasy football questions that you guys have. Does not matter what format. Start sits, trades, roster reviews, anything that you guys need. How did the waiver wire go? How did it not go? Team reviews, any format, whatever you need. Let's get into it. Let me fix my camera here. There we go. Perfect. All right. So we'll kind of go through the news, so to speak, for the week or day or two, since was on last night. And then I'll hop in. Anything you guys need, get in the live chat. Let's get this going. So just a reminder, start sits at running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends are out on the channel. So anything that you guys need, go check out the videos as they come out throughout the week. Those are going to help your lineups as well. Tomorrow, we will have running backs and wide receivers that are going to dominate week 2 coming out. We'll have a buy low video coming out Friday, and we will have last-minute waiver wire additions coming out Saturday. So plenty of content coming in the next couple of days for you guys, and plenty of content already out on the channel. Make sure you guys are checking out the videos. And the best place, and the only place you guys will probably wait or hear from me, going to be in the YouTube comment section and on the live streams. I had to limit the live streams. I can't live stream for 3 hours this year. So if you guys need a question answered, drop it on a comment in one of the YouTube videos, or when I go live, make sure you guys are in here. If you guys are not part of the Discord, the link is down below. The Discord is free. It's always been free. Whenever I go live or whenever a video goes out, you guys get an automatic notification. So make sure you guys are on the Discord as well. All right. That's it. And if you're new to Underdog Fantasy, promo code The Catch gets you up a 50% deposit match up to $1,000 on Underdog and a free pick 'em for the week. Thursday night's going to be Josh Allen over half a yard. Then going into the weekend, you're either going to get CeeDee Lamb over half a yard or Caleb Williams over half a yard. So promo code The Catch. All right. In terms of news for the day. Oh, one last reminder. Super Chat will guarantee that your question is answered. I will try to get to every single question. I probably will be able to, but if you guys need something answered right away, the chat's already building up. I'm only going to be on for an hour. If you want your question answered, guaranteed, you can send a Super Chat. All right. Seahawks, Kenneth Walker did not practice today. Am I worried? No. I mean, Walker, A-Chain, these guys live on the injury report. Puka Nacua could miss more than 4 games per Sean McVay. Audric Estime has hit the IR. Russell Wilson had a limited practice today. I still think it's going to be Fields. Hollywood Brown has not practiced. Kyle Shanahan said that C-Mac was limited in practice. I'm not expecting Christian McCaffrey to play week 2. Keenan Allen is considered day-to-day with a heel injury. David Njoku officially ruled out for week 2. So Raheem Mostert was ruled out for tomorrow night's game. Devon A-Chain is a game-time decision. We'll talk about that throughout the stream, I'm sure. And that's about it. So just a bunch of bummer injury report stuff for the day. So we'll move along. All right. Get your questions in the chat. That's what we're here for. Aiden, what's up, man? LeBron, hello. Carlos, what's up, my guy? David, who should I start? MH Jr., Neighbors, Jameson Williams. Great list here. I think all these guys are going to have good weeks. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. will have a better floor in week 2. I just recorded my must-start wide receivers for week 2. I had all of these guys on the list. I like all these guys a lot this week, actually. So I will say out of the bunch, I go Malik Neighbors. I really like Neighbors this week. That Washington Commanders defense, so bad. Secondary, so bad. The worst secondary out of these three. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who Jameson Williams will face, actually allowed the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers in week 1, but I mean, Jaden Daniels probably contributed to that. They shut down Terry McLaurin, and that's all they really had to worry about. And then the Rams, I think, were 19th against wide receivers in week 1. I still don't really consider that too bad of a matchup, and I like that matchup overall. So I still like the other two, but I go Neighbors. Neighbors going to be a guy that is going to be a must start for me this week. That, if you got him, I think you roll with him. So, is James Conner a dark horse for top 10 rest of season? I still think top 10 is really hard to hit. Do I think it's impossible? No. But you still got like Bijan, Hall, Barkley, Gibbs, JT Kyron, Henry. You still got a lot of other guys. ETN, Jacobs, Pacheco, White, Cook, Kamara, Walker. I mean, Cotter might be close. He finished week 1 as the RB9, so sure. I think Dark Horse might be fair. I'm not like trying to discredit Connor, but still a lot of other guys. And I mean, I don't know, we might have like this might be an overreaction, but like J.K. Dobbins, right? You're going to have somebody in that later window, Brian Robinson Jr., who could easily finish in the top 10 as well. So maybe easily is not the right word if I'm not saying Connor will, but yeah, I think Connor, as long as he's healthy, is a clear workhorse running back there. So Abreu, 68, Abreu, A-Chain Pollard, Mason Ford, start 2. This one's tough as well. I like all of these guys this week. Once again, I just recorded must start running backs. Pollard and Ford made the list. I left Mason off. When I was like making my decisions for, I really considered Mason too. I mean, there is a slight chance that Christian McCaffrey does play this week, which I think would hurt Mason's value, not totally derail him, but still hurt his value. So I left him off because there's a little bit of a variable there, but I still think Mason, Mason is going to be a must start. I mean, the Vikings defense allowed the 4th fewest fantasy points to running backs in week 1. Well, it was the Giants. Like, I'm not going to read too much into it. So, yeah, I like all these guys. I'll say this much. Like, if you want to skip the A-Chain headache, or maybe A-Chain makes, the decision for you, then you can hold out on A-Chain here, but it's just really hard to bench Devon A-Chain at any time. This is really, I think Pollard's going to have a great week against the Jets. They did not look up to the task. Their run defense last year was really bad. It was really bad again in week 1, albeit they were on the road against the Niners. But yeah, I like Pollard a lot this week, and you got to expect the Titans, to rely on the run game, because Will Levis ain't throwing the football any better than I would. So, and then I love Jerome Ford this week. The Jags run defense really poor in week 1 too, and his volume may have not been what we exactly wanted in week 1, but he had like 7 targets, like still found the end zone in garbage time. So I like Ford a lot, and that's another offense you look at. It's like Sean Watson ain't throwing the football, so they're going to have to rely on Ford. So I think you have 4 really solid starts. I don't think you can really go wrong here. I will tell you the best matchups lie with Tony Pollard and Jerome Ford. The Bills also not a bad matchup. So, I mean, I think if A-Chain starts, you just have to start A-Chain. I do. I think I probably go with A-Chain if he's healthy. And I think right now it's really tough to bench Mason. But I mean, I think Pollard and Ford are guys you could even consider flexing this week. That's how much I like them. So, man, this is a tough one. I'll say A-Chain and Mason, but I just don't want to discredit those other two guys. I think that they're gonna have great weeks, but I just think Mason and A-Chain are too tough to bench here. Tough. Christian, what's up, my guy? Hello. Sorry, let me move this top of the screen so it's not in our way. Would you drop Shakir for Robinson? Other wide receivers are Amon-Ra, Pittman, Watson, and Ladd. You could. I think the interesting thing looking at Demarcus Robinson is like, what's going to happen if something happens to Cooper Kupp, God forbid. Like, I get Demarcus Robinson's a wide receiver one, but I don't even want to play into that because I'm like, I don't really like Demarcus Robinson if he is the wide receiver one. I like him more wide receiver 2 or 3 with Kupp and or Puka out there. So, I mean, I think your wide receivers are good enough to make this move, but I it's just tough because, like, Shakir got the touchdown in week 1, but he take away the touchdown, nothing there. So he had 3 targets in week 1. So you can. I mean, what offense do you believe in more? Do you believe in Buffalo or the Rams more? Which passing offense do you believe in more? I guess I kind of lean Robinson, but I think he's more situational. But I think at the same time, Shakir is kind of like, touchdown or bust. So it's close. PPR thoughts. We got Chuba till Brooks gets back. Too early to move on from him. I mean, I think it is probably too early. Like, it's too early. It is. I mean, he had 6 touches. Miles Sanders had 5. Neither of them had any receiving work. It was just a smack across the face from the Saints in week 1. And I mean, I don't necessarily know that it's going to be better against the Chargers here in week 2. They're at least at home. Panthers are. Maybe that helps. I don't know if there's any helping. This Panthers offense. I put a lot of faith in Dave Canales. We'll see what happens. I think you still got to hold on to him for now. Trust me. And I was looking at the waivers going into this week. Even guys like Zamir White, like Javonte Williams, I'm like, they'll all these low end later running backs will see better days. So yeah. It, of course, depends on who you're dropping him for, but I think we hold on to him. All right, Brandon, what we got, my guy? Ridley, McConkey, Moss, Lazard, or Kirk in the flex. Interesting here. So I think Moss is touchdown or bust this week against the Chiefs. I don't see a high ceiling for him. I'm worried about Ridley. He's a very low-end flex with the way Will Levis looked in week 1. Lazard is intriguing. Lazard is either going to be one of these players that I think he's going to end up on most people's benches this week. I do. And I think he's either going to come out with another solid fantasy performance. People will be like, I wish I didn't bench him. Or he's just not going to have a good week and it's going to be really volatile. I mean, the Titans, the 7th fewest fantasy points to wide receivers in week 1. Caleb Williams is throwing the football. Maybe, I mean, I don't know. Snead's going to be on Wilson in this game. I think Lazard's intriguing. I don't think there's a big in between. I think he's all around boom or bust, right? I'm not giving up on Christian Kirk, guys. I'm not. But I feel a little worried about him. I mean, the Browns weren't great week 1, but it's still a good Browns defense. I'm going Ladd McConkey here because I will mention while the Panthers were really bad in week 1, they still didn't give up a lot of fantasy points to opposing wide receivers, and they found a way to X out Chris Olave and give up the 13th fewest points to wide receivers in week 1. But I like the Saints really needed to throw the football a ton as the game went on. So I think they will try and take care of Josh Palmer. I really think Palmer's still lining up as the wide receiver 1 here. that should open up things for Ladd McConkey. So I'm gonna roll Ladd McConkey here. Axis Smith, what's up, man? Should I trade away London or keep him due to week 1 and him only getting 3 fantasy points? How do you feel about Aaron Jones and Monty? So I like Drake London here in week 2. I think if you own him, you can continue to play Drake London. Gets a better matchup, gets the Eagles. So I'm okay with London. I would hold him. Think he's a good buy low. I am a little concerned. Don't get me wrong, but I think this is a week where Drake London will be better in comparison to last week. Aaron Jones, I think Aaron Jones going to end up being one of these guys, unless he just has a really bad matchup, that I'm just going to end up saying just start him. Like I think he's just going to end up being a starter. So I think he's fine. I don't think the ceiling's very high, but I think he's fine. I liked him a lot going into week 1. Talked about him a lot last week because it was a great matchup. It's not an awful matchup, but it's not a good matchup this week against the Niners. And Monty, yeah, I have not been out on Monty like since last year ended in any way. I drafted a lot of Monty in the offseason, talked about him in the offseason. And I know if you take away overtime on Monday or Sunday night, like stat line's not as good here. So and Gibbs is getting the primary work. Don't get me wrong, but I still like Monty. I think he's a very good player to have. Like he's a great handcuff, so to speak. If something were to happen to Gibbs, he's gonna like walk into a massive amount of carries. And I still think he's gonna have enough value as the year goes on that's not really a concern for me anyways. So I like both. And Savvy, would you trade Monty and a player for ETN? I have too many Lions players. I don't know what caliber of player I should include, like a flex. I mean, you could, but ETN has some concerns. I mean, they've come out and said they're going to continue to feed him, and he's probably fine. I'm a little worried about the Jags offense because I'm never worried about the Jags offense. You guys know me. I'm a Trevor Lawrence guy. I'm a Christian Kirk guy, Evan Ingram guy. Always think ETN's fine. I do like Brian Thomas Jr. right now. But overall, I'm a little panic meter there for the Jags is existent. So it just kind of depends on what you have to give up here. I mean, ETN didn't have a bad week 1 fantasy wise. So really, there wasn't like a single starting running back that did have a bad week 1, unless you're an idiot like me and started DeAndre Swift or Zamir White. McLaurin, Deontay Ford, Pollard, start one in the flex. I mean, I probably in PPR go McLaurin. I think he will have a better week. But I really like Ford and Pollard if you don't feel great about McLaurin. I mean, McLaurin gets the Giants, so Ford and Pollard, I think, are fantastic starts this week. Christian, we got a 16-man AR, Brees, ETN, Amon-Ra, Shaheed, Pitts, Ertz, Terry. What do you think about my team? What should I do with Amon-Ra? You should hold Amon-Ra. Don't let someone come out and buy Amon-Ra just because, he had 4.1 fantasy points in week 1. Hold on to Amon-Ra. What did CeeDee Lamb last year? CeeDee Lamb had 11 fantasy points in week 1. I thought it was like 9, but according to Sleeper, it's 11. Jamar Chase had 9. AJ Brown, that's what I was thinking of. AJ Brown had 14, then 6 in the first 2 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, these top tier guys can still come out sometimes and play poorly in the first game, and you start to panic, but don't panic here. It'll be okay. Be okay. So I would hold on. Overall, your team looks good. I'm in a 16-team format, so yeah, it's slim pickings. But I mean, I mean, you basically have Terry as your wide receiver 2, then Shaheed as a flex, which is fine for a 16-team league. This is a good team for, I mean, you got Pitts, Brees, and ETN. You got a solid quarterback. I just continue as the year goes on to build depth at wide receiver and running back. I don't even really think you need Zach Ertz, but I get it. If you drop him, there's probably not any starters at tight end. So, and Pitts, a little worrisome. So, should I be looking to trade away Marvin Harrison Jr. or do I wait? I would wait. You're selling him like at an all-time low. Like, no, I think I think he bounces back this week. I like Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. Aiden says, like the stream, like the dang video, guys. What's up, Albert? Good to see you, bro. Do I start Chicago or Indy? I'm not starting Chicago defense this week. I liked them last week. I don't love them this week because I think the Houston Texans are good at football. Basically where I stand on that one. So, they're not facing Will Levis and company in week 2 here. So, I'm going to go with Indy. I think they're a great stream. They made the must start video for defenses. So, yeah, just give me the Colts. Drop Benson for D Hop. I mean, you can, Doug. You're looking at either I guess a handcuff. I guess Trey Benson's a handcuff. I don't really know who the RB2 on that Cardinals team is. Or you're looking at DeAndre Hopkins, who, like DeAndre Hopkins, I think going to be one of these players this year who is just a roster clogger. Like, when are you, unless you're just out of desperation, when are you going to start DeAndre Hopkins, Isaiah Likely or Kyle Pitts, who should I start? I've gotten a lot of similar questions throughout the day, past 2 days. And I'm just going to say this. Kyle Pitts gives you a floor. He's perfectly fine to start. He is a little touchdown dependent. I mean, you take away the touchdown last week, it's not a good day. Or you go Isaiah Likely for the upside. If it's me and my roster, probably taking the upside and starting Isaiah Likely. Dropped Rome for JMO, good. Dropped Singletary for Dobbins, good. Dropped Mostert for Charb to handcuff Walker, fine. Not out on Mostert per se, but fine. Have Neighbors on the bench and have Caleb Williams. Good moves. Yes, all is good here. All is good. Neighbors a good start this week. JMO, Dobbins, big pickups. And Caleb is not someone I want to start anytime soon, but he's fine. Ronaldo. We got Neighbors, Worthy, or Cooks. It's got to be Neighbors for me. I mean, Xavier Worthy, I really liked going into week 1. I still like Xavier Worthy. I think you can still start Xavier Worthy. But, I mean, he only ran 1 or 2 routes all night, which is fine. That's what they want to use him for. They found ways to get him the ball, the handoff and everything. It's just I probably as high on Xavier Worthy as anyone. It's like my 4th most drafted wide receiver on Underdog going into the year. But he had 3 targets, 2 receptions, in the 1 handoff. So he touched the ball 4 times and 2 times it was touchdowns. It's just it's risky. I still like him, but I just think a player like Malik Neighbors has a safer floor and still a really good ceiling against the Commanders. So probably go Neighbors, but I don't think any of these options are necessarily bad. But Cooks definitely, I think, touchdown or bust on a weekly basis, which is fine in the flex. So I think I go Neighbors here. Do you think JT can bounce back this week? Yeah, for sure. I mean, I still think JT falls into that must start category. I still think week 1 was enough, wasn't very efficient on the ground, just 3 yards per carry, but 16 touches. He got the touchdown. I mean, yeah, I guess it's low. He barely scraped out a double-digit performance at 10 points. But, yeah, I like him. I mean, we look back to last week. We look at the Packers. Don't know if we remember or not, but they did not play well against the running back position, albeit Saquon Barkley Yeah, JT should be fine. What do you think are good trade values to get Puka? I mean, I think this is a really risky area to enter, but I mean, I don't know. A lot of people entered the same area last year when they tried to trade for Cooper Cup while he was hurt. So I want to get a clearer picture on what's going on with Puka before I'm going out and trading for him. But you're probably gonna have to trade like a third, fourth, or fifth rounder for him because he's still a lot of people's eyes a first round caliber, or at least beginning the second round caliber player. It's what do you have on your roster would be my question for you. But you feel like you can trade for Puka. Right out or Dowdle if A-Chain is out. Do I consider playing both Miami running backs and bench one of Ladd or Deontay? No. This is tough because I mean we don't even know we don't know what the split between Jalen Wright and Jeff Wilson's going to be like. I know it really feels like a situation that you can come in and take advantage of, and it very well could be. But for me, this is just a situation that I try to stay away from. Like, is HA going to play? We don't know. Is Jalen Wright going to get touches? We don't know. Is Jeff Wilson going to be a workhorse running back Thursday night? We don't know. I mean, it's a good matchup. The Bills didn't play well against James Conner in week 1. But I don't really love Dowdle. We talked about this last night. Dowdle only had 2 less touches than Zeke. I think there's going to be weeks where Zeke stumbles in the end zone and Dowdle stumbles into the end zone. And it's going to be frustrating to own either guy. It's not a great matchup for Dowdle. So pay attention till tomorrow night. I would consider right here. I think Dowdle's a safer floor, but I don't. Tough to evaluate, but I wouldn't play both Miami running backs. I would keep Ladd in your lineup. And then next, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Hello. I do remember you. Yes. I'm happy you're here tonight. What's up, man? T Zinch. Rank these wide receivers in full PPR. We got Marv, Draco, J-Mo, Brian Robinson. Interesting list here. So, I mean, going into week 2 specifically or overall on the season, I mean, I'd probably still go Drake London, Marvin Harrison Jr., J-Mo, and B-Rob, but we'll have to see. I mean, we'll say I like Marvin Harrison Jr. and Drake London and Jameson Williams a lot going into the week. And sorry, it says Brian Robinson, throwing me off, but I think we're talking about Brian Thomas Jr. here, who I do like, and I am worried about, Christian Kirk. So I don't really love him against the Browns this week. Look at, the fact that he scored a touchdown last week. What does that mean in terms of, is he going to score a touchdown this week? Certainly can, but the odds are a little bit lower now. Yeah, I think for this week, I go Drake London, Jameson Williams, Marvin Harrison, Brian Robinson, or Brian Thomas. Sorry, it's throwing me off. But I do think that Marvin Harrison and J-Mo are close. I think both are going to have good weeks. So we'll see. What's up, Andrea? Good to see you. David, 2 quarterback, who wins? My team is Kyler, JT, Kenneth, Hill, Neighbors, Andrews, Daniels. His team is Brock Turdy, Saquon, Ramondre, Adams, Debo, Laporta. He's flexing Bowers. I think I like your team more. Kyler, JT, Kenneth, Hill, Neighbors, Andrews, Daniels. He's super flexing Bowers. I think you're good here. It's still a tough matchup, but I think you're good here. I think I like your team overall more. All right, guys, we're half an hour in. Just a reminder, I can only stream for an hour, maybe a couple minutes more this year. So if you guys need a question answered, you can send a super chat. I'm going to try and get through as many questions as I possibly can, though. All right. I think this question got answered or cut off already. Answered already or got cut off. uh-huh. Sorry, the chat messing up for me. All right. Charles, what's up, man? Good to see you. Hello, hello. I think we just hit this one. Romero, it's a 10-man PPR. I'm starting Caleb, Hill, Smitty, Ingram, Moore, Dell, Fairbairn, Chargers. You got Aaron Jones, Coleman, likely Elliott, Dunze. What would you change? I think your starting lineup looks good for the most part. Who are your starting running backs? I think we missed running backs here, but who? I mean, I'm not really looking to start Caleb Williams right now. Is Baker Mayfield out there? Guys, I'm going to talk about Baker Mayfield throughout this whole week. And I liked Baker a lot going in last week. I like Baker going into the season. But Baker Mayfield has such a good schedule coming up. I think he needs to be rostered in all single quarterback formats, not just because of what he did in week 1, but he's at Detroit. He gets the Broncos at home, the Eagles at home. Then he's at Atlanta, at the Saints, not great. Baltimore, not great. Then he gets Atlanta again. And he's at Kansas City, San Francisco, not great. But I do like his ending stretch as well as the next couple of weeks. I mean, Detroit, Denver, Philly, Atlanta, all good. But once they come back from the bye week, he gets the Giants, the Panthers, the Raiders. Very good. Chargers, Cowboys. Like I could see one of those games. They're both road games, maybe not being as great. Maybe Dallas, but I think you get nice competitive game scripts there. Then in week 17, he gets the Panthers in the fantasy playoffs. So I think Baker should be rostered in all single quarterback leagues, especially if you're looking at it like kind of a QB1 who you may not have the most confidence in. So yeah, to get back to your question here, I like your starting lineup. I just worry about Caleb Williams. Everything else looks good. And I don't know your running backs, but I'm going to assume they're better than Aaron Jones. See at the bottom of the screen. Okay, Rashad and Josh Jacobs. Yeah, I keep those guys in for sure. For sure. Good competitive. I mean, it's a tough matchup for Rashad White, but they're going to find ways to get him the football, throw him the football. So not worried about that. And Jacobs, great matchup. They're probably going to rely on Jacobs. The Colts run defense, not good. Jones gets the Niners. So, yeah. Good starting lineup. I just worry about Caleb. All right. We got Breece Hall, Jerome Ford, Kenneth Walker, Jordan Mason. Who do you sit? I mean, you probably just have to start Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker. Kenneth doesn't have a great matchup. I really like Jerome Ford, and I think Jordan Mason, who also doesn't have a great matchup based on week 1, but I think we'll be fine because the Vikings play the Giants week 1, so I don't want to read into that ranking, but I think Ford and Mason are going to have really good weeks. And Kenneth Walker is another guy that I don't worry about too much because the volume will be there, and he should continue to get some work in the receiving game. So I think I go Hall, and I probably still go Walker. But if you want to go Ford or Mason, you certainly can. This is a tough choice, but you got to start Breece Hall. Dallas defense is on the waiver wire. Should I drop the Texans defense for them? I like the Texans against the Bears, but Dallas's defense is solid too. I think you can make this move if you want to. Now I will say Dallas plays Baltimore in week 3. Then they get the Giants and the Steelers. Then they play the Lions and they have a bye week. They're at the Niners, at the Falcons, probably fine. Then they get Philly, Houston. I will say to end the year, they go, they have the Giants, the Bengals at home. They're at Carolina, Bucks at home, at Philly. I don't really love, but that stretch leading up in the first week of the playoffs at Carolina, not bad. Houston, on the other hand, I I think Houston's fine this week. Then they get Minnesota, probably fine. Then Jacksonville, probably fine. Buffalo, not great. At New England, probably fine. At Green Bay, hard to evaluate at this point in time. Probably not good. Then they're at the Jets, Detroit, Dallas, Tennessee, Jacksonville. They must have the worst fantasy playoff schedule of any defense. The Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Ravens. So I guess I lean towards the Cowboys overall here. They also have a late bye, a week 14 bye. The Texans do. Not overreacting, but Metcalf didn't do anything because Geno's garbage. Is Brian Thomas Jr. for DK a fair trade? Thomas looked great against Ramsey. I think Metcalf will see better days. I don't want to call this a fair trade just yet. I like Brian Thomas a lot, but I still prefer Metcalf here. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with Metcalf. Or who to ask for. I mean, you still got to look at like wide receivers in that same caliber. I mean, I think Metcalf's going to bounce back. I don't exactly know if it's going to be this week. I think this is kind of another one of these matchups where we look at things and we come out of this game and it probably still feels a little bit gross because that Patriots secondary not bad. But then he gets, I mean, this stretch is nice. He gets the Dolphins, the Lions, the Giants. So I think Metcalf will definitely see better days. But yeah, you're gonna have to look at players like, like Pickens, Tank Dell. Maybe you can squeeze Zay Flowers. I would like that. Amari Cooper, I think we'll also see better days, but that's pretty lateral. Like, I think you're just going to go for a lateral trade. And I like Brian Thomas, but I just think it's too steep. Thoughts on ET in the rest of the season if Tank gets 50-50 split again this week? Pretty much going to be like close to touchdown or bust, but I think they're still going to have ETN involved. I'm not overly concerned about ETN right now. Patty, hello. Trades, DJ Moore, Monty, Pickens, and Hawk for Kamara, Terry, Chubb, and Judy. I like the DJ Moore Pickens side. I mean, I probably prefer Kamara over Monty, but I prefer DJ Moore and Pickens over Terry and Chubb. And Judy, like, I think Judy has some nice matchups coming up. He might be like a viable low end flex option based on matchup who's touchdown dependent. I don't think Chubb's gonna, the way the Browns look, I don't think Chubb's gonna be in any rush to get out on the field. So I like the DJ Moore Monty side. Quite a bit more actually. Those are definitely the players that I prefer. So oh, you already did the trade. Sorry, if you guys like retract a message or something, the way I have to do this, I don't see it. I only see I see the first message first. So I think that's what happened here. But yeah, I don't like this trade. I mean, I think Terry's fine. I think Terry probably equals Pickens there, and I think Kamara I still prefer over Monty, but I'm not. Yeah, I mean, we just went over it, so it's a little worrisome, but I hope it works out. Like I said, Judy at least has some nice matchups coming up. Chase, what's up? Hello. Tommy, hello. You think I could get a wide receiver for Mason? CMC owner doesn't have anything to work with, unfortunately, or Josh Jacobs. What wide receivers could I target? I think you could probably target a pretty good caliber player, but I would wait on Josh Jacobs because I think Josh Jacobs could have a really big week 2. He's not coming off of a big week 1. Is fine week 1, but certainly not a big week 1. So I would hold off. He gets this Colts defense that's awful against the run at home. I'd probably I would wait. Now Jordan Mason, yeah, you can. I mean, you're selling him super high, especially when you have a player coming out of a prime time game that everyone watched and zoned in on, and he looked great. Like, yeah, it helps. So, look at running back needy teams, and I think you can kind of go to like the Tank Dell, George Pickens range. I don't know if you're gonna get like a Rashee Rice or Jaden Reed. Maybe a Chris Godwin. I'd be okay with that for sure. You could probably get a guy like Kirk or Terry. I don't know how great I feel about that, but it's probably okay. But yeah, I mean, I think especially if you can get a guy like Tank Dell, Zay Flowers, Pickens, I still think is fine. Um, I don't think you're going to get Jaden Reed, but I'd be okay with that. Chris Godwin, I'm okay with. So if you can hit that tier of guys, I'm okay with it. If you can, I think you could walk away with like a Jameson Williams, Christian Watson. Maybe you get a Brian Thomas Jr. I'd be okay with that too. Should I trade Wilson, Connor, and B Rob for Debo, London, and Coleman? No, I don't think I'd do this trade. I mean, I do think London's going to be better. I think Coleman will probably be an okay flex option all year long. And I think you could argue Debo's the best player out of this entire trade, but I prefer the Wilson, Connor, and B Rob side. I think Connor and B Rob are going to be very solid this year. And I know Wilson wasn't overwhelming in week 1, but he'll be fine. Mike, who should I start in my flex spot week 2 in non PPR? Gus Bus, Madison, McLaughlin, Lazard, or Sutton? I would, in standard, I would roll Gus Edwards out there. I know it's not going to feel good whatsoever, but he faces the Panthers and it's standard scoring here. I go Edwards, then Lazard, just because I think those are the only two that really present true touchdown upside. Not going to trust Cortland Sutton in standard in the flex. I think that magic touchdown upside from last year's gone. Only him and Russell Wilson can replicate that. We'll find out. But yeah, I don't think there's any touchdown upside out of McLaughlin. And maybe it's not fair to say about Madison, who scored a touchdown last week, but I got to see it happen on a consistent basis first. Chase, I got Wilson and Wright. Go with Wilson. Yes, if A-Chain does not play. With Higgins being questionable, who do I start? Ladd, Ridley, Demarcus Robinson. I would start Ladd. All right, guys, I can only stream for like less than 20 minutes. So super chat if you want something answered right away. And other than that, I'm going to start speeding through some of these to get to the bottom of the chat. Andrea, JMO, or Chris Olave? I probably still roll Chris Olave. Panthers weren't bad last year against wide receivers. They X'd him out. It was about the only thing they X'd out. Plus, the game script didn't really benefit him. I think it'll be a better game script this week against the Cowboys. So I probably go with him. I think he's a safer floor, but JMO is still a nice upside play. Parkinson or Ferguson? So now we're getting word that Ferguson might not miss week 2. If that's the case, I think he's okay. If you're worried about the matchup against the Saints, the injury, whatever, you could go Parkinson. I like Parkinson as a like streaming fill-in option. Hall, Ford, Mason, Kenneth. Who would you bench? We're gonna break it down to matchup. I guess it's Kenneth, but I'm probably just going Hall. You can't go wrong here. That's the thing. I like all these guys a lot this week. So worst matchup is Kenneth. I mean, technically it's Jordan Mason, but I'm not going to read into that because the Vikings play the Giants. I just don't think you can go wrong here. Trade question. Should I trade Higgins and Kyron for Ayuk, Gus Edwards, and Brooks? Don't apologize for the questions. That's what we're here for. You could if you want to get rid of the T. Higgins headache, but I don't think Kyron for Edwards and Jay Brooks is going to equate to Kyron. So I don't know that I would do it. Rice and Monty for Gibbs. I get Rice. And Dynasty depends on your running. And Dynasty, when I answer a Dynasty trade question, I got to know everything. Full roster, scoring format is close. I'll say this much. I value wide receiver over running back much more in Dynasty. But Gibbs is pretty high up there for running backs. My JT for Pacheco and Worthy. I would do this trade. Yeah, I would do this trade. rock out. I mean, I still believe in JT, but I still think Pacheco is top 5 running back upside. I would do this trade. I think it's fair. Yeah, I mean, JT could certainly have a much better game this week if you want to sell him higher. I'm okay with the trade, but I'm very high on Pacheco. You guys should know that. Should I trade likely Rachaad White and Charbs for JT and Pitts? Already have Kincaid. I'm gonna say no. I still think you get enough out of likely that like you don't need Pitts on your team. And then I like Rachaad White enough. This might be personal biasy. So I like Rachaad White enough that I would hold. What moves do you recommend me making better to this team? We got a 12-team full PPR running back, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. What's up, Sergio? So we're going to go Lamar, Olave, McLaurin, Bijan, Kincaid, ETN, flexing Worthy. So we're missing a running back here. Bench is Chase Brown, Benson, Sutton Lazard, Bucky Irving, Zeke, and the Ravens defense. So, I mean, this is kind of tough in a 12-teamer. I think you're pretty much in a spot where you're playing the waivers because it's not like I know some of these guys really disappointed week 1, like Kincaid, McLaurin, Olave, maybe even Bijan or ETN to a degree, but this is still a good team. This is a team with a lot of players who are still going to be solid this year. I don't think I'd overreact too much, although I know you're probably it's probably feeling worrisome right now. You got a good streaming defense, a good defense in the Ravens on the backhand. I don't know if you have to roster Trey Benson in 12-team formats, especially if you already have Bucky Irving, but I get it if it's then out there at running back, you're looking for the best options here. Chase Brown, Benson, Irving, I get it here. So I don't think you need to go make any moves because the problem here is you don't really have anyone on your bench that allows you to make a move. You're going to end up having to trade a starter. And I think it's just going to end up being too lateral for you. I mean, unless you can like package McLaurin, and I think you could probably package like McLaurin and Chase Brown and get a tier up at wide receiver, but it depends on what you can tier up to. I don't think I trade Olave on this team, and I hold on to Worthy. And I think you're going to have to hold on to Lazard and Sutton. Like, I mean, you can find a way to throw one of those two into a trade. I think it's fine too. But if anything, I'd be trying to tier up at wide receiver. You're going to be playing the waiver at running back and wide receiver, which happens in 12-team formats. So, is what it is. But I would not panic if I were you. All right, Mark, we got Spears, Chandler, McLaughlin. Which to drop to pick up Justice Hill? I'll say this much. I would just drop Jaleel McLaughlin. Like, I'm not dealing with the Broncos' headache at running back on my bench. I think he's just going to be a roster clogger. I think at least with Ty Chandler, we know if Aaron Jones goes down that Ty Chandler is a starting running back. Like, I think we're just going to get this back and forth. Javonte looks bad. McLaughlin got targets, but was bad with the targets. The Broncos offense just does not look good. We got a rookie quarterback. I would just drop McLaughlin. 10-man, CJ Mixon, JT, Nico, Jamar, Flexus, Pacheco, tight end is McBride. We got London, Najee, Brian Thomas, Higgins on my bench. Should I be looking to get rid of my Houston trio and upgrade? I mean, no. Houston's offense is going to be great all year, so I will say no. You don't have to. Depends on what you can potentially upgrade. If I'm going to upgrade anywhere on this team's great. I mean, I don't really think you need to upgrade anywhere. Maybe go for wide receiver depth, but no, I think I'd hold Brian Thomas Jr., Higgins, London on the bench. Let's be patient. Higgins, great volume. You got 3 stud running backs in your lineup. I'd hold. Ronaldo, you are welcome. Would you drop Caleb for Love? Depends on who your other quarterback is because you're going to need a starter. But yeah, in a heartbeat, I would. If I have like Baker Mayfield and Jordan Love right now, Matthew Stafford and Jordan Love, I'm feeling gravy. Should I start JSN or Lazard? Neither secondary is very allowing to wide receivers in week 1. So you're going touchdown or bust here. I guess Lazard. Chat, Lazard or JSN? Connor, that's a tough choice, man. Should I replace any of my team for a waiver pickup in an 8-man league? We got Hurts, Barkley, Kamara, Cup, DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison Jr., Andrews, Bucker, and the Niners. It really depends. You also got Burrow, T-Law, Godwin, Swift, Schultz. I'll say this much. I'd consider throwing Godwin in over DJ Moore or Marvin Harrison in an 8-man. I think Godwin's going to have another really solid week. You can definitely, in an 8-man, I think, drop Roma Dunze and or Dalton Schultz, but it depends on who's out there on waivers. And you probably don't need 3 quarterbacks if you have Hurts. You probably just don't in an 8-man. Shane, hey, trade Marvin Harrison and Judy for Puka in a second. Don't you feel like that's kind of undervaluing Marvin Harrison Jr.? I mean, I feel like if we were still at the beginning of the offseason or like fresh out of the rookie draft, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s value is like so much higher. So I think you're kind of selling him low. I mean, long term, if you like Puka more, I think it's fine, but I still feel like you're selling him low, you know? Darnold or Carr. It is ugly because neither of these guys necessarily have good matchups, but I think I'll lean Carr. It is ugly, Chase. Waddle or Rashad White. In full PPR, I'm still going Waddle in the flex. But you know I love my boy Rashad White. Cinnabon, what's up, my dude? Thoughts on benching Nico and Marvin Harrison Jr. for Waddle, Rice, and Jerome Ford? Barely anyone did good against Jalen Johnson last year. I want to wait a week on Marvin Harrison Jr. Fair, but I'm not benching Nico. I think you could bench Marvin Harrison Jr. in this situation, but I'm not benching Nico. Bench one, Kirk, B. Tom, Shaheed. Yeah, probably Shaheed. Yeah, I know Shaheed was great week 1, was a waiver ad. I've been on the Rashid Shaheed train before, and it's a bumpy ride. Volume was still really low. This is like, imagine if we were asking, should I start Kirk, B. Tom, or Alec Pierce? Probably still be like, I don't know about Alec Pierce. Shaheed had the same amount of targets as Alec Pierce last week. So now I will say, if you want to diversify and sit one of the Jags wide receivers, that's okay too. Will Marvin Harrison Jr. score for my parlay? I don't know if he's going to score, but I think he's going to have a much better day. Tommy, need one wide receiver to go with Rice and one wide receiver to flex. If A-Chain is out, I'm considering flexing right. Pick 2 wide receivers, Coleman, Robinson, Randall Robinson. I'm just trying to stay away from this situation with the Dolphins if I can. So you need one wide receiver and one flex. I'd probably just go Coleman and Demarcus Robinson, but I think Randall Robinson is a good option here too. Ayuk or Debo? I mean, it depends. I think Ayuk's the floor play, Debo's the upside. So I still think both are going to be good. I think Ayuk's going to be just fine. 2 flex spots will be Jacobs, possibly A-Chain right. So I guess I can just pick one wide receiver. Yeah, I don't know if I'm putting all my eggs in the basket with Jalen Wright this week. I think it's risky. Jerry, what's up, bro? Start Eckler. You can, but the floor is dangerous. He only had 2 rushing attempts. Brian Thomas Jr. or Brian Robinson Jr. is the lead back there for sure. So you're going off of Is he going to catch the ball enough? I think he could against the Giants, but the game script benefited Eckler way more in week 1 than I think it will in week 2. Good to see you, Jer. Full parlays, Caitlin Clark under 23 points just hit. Waddle over 63. Kincaid over 44. MH Jr. scores a touchdown. I'm crossing my fingers for you. Hopefully Kincaid has a better week too. Would you trade T-Law and Ridley for Marvin Harrison Jr.? Yes. Yes. In a heartbeat, Mike. As long as you're okay at quarterback. And if you're not, probably someone out there. All right, guys, just a couple more minutes. All I have time for tonight. I'm going to try and speed through every question here. With Higgins being questionable, who do I start? Ladd, Ridley, D-Rob, Ladd McConkey for me. GT Sport, pick 2. Ladd, Cooks, likely. I probably go Ladd and likely, but I think B Cook's okay. By the way, guys, I am in on Isaiah Likely this week. I am on the Isaiah Likely train, good or bad. Flowers, DK, or Ramondre, start 1. Flowers, easy, Richard. Flowers for sure. But Ramondre is interesting. Good choice too. And DK, okay, but bad matchup. Tone Bear, we're starting Mason, Kyron, Nita Flex, Dell, Ford, Lazard, Olave, London, including the running backs. I don't know if I should start Mason or Ford. You could flip a coin. I think both are great this week. Your 1 flex. I mean, I'd probably trust Olave here, but I think Dell's good. I think London's good. I think Ford is good. I'll probably just roll Mason, Kyron. I still think Ford's really good, and then I'd flex Olave. If you want some more upside, you could flex Dell. Traded JJ for Nico Collins, Mixon, and Connor. I mean, most people are going to look at this and say, why did you trade Justin Jefferson? Which I probably maybe prefer Justin Jefferson at the end of the day because he's JJ, but this is probably a good enough return in redraft, especially if you were in a bad situation at running back, because Nico Collins is still going to be great this year. Is it possible to trade for Pacheco if I send Mason, London, and Lazard? He has Dobbins starting over Pacheco. Possibly. Probably still values Pacheco pretty highly, though. And Dobbins just has a smash. I mean, Dobbins is a must start. I'm surprised we got no Dobbins questions tonight. Got a few last night, but Dobbins is an absolute player you have to start this week against the Panthers' run defense. So he probably still values Pacheco accordingly. It's just tough to bench him. But Pacheco's got a great matchup against the Bengals' run defense, too. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson just tore them apart. So it's possible. I think London will have a better week, too. And Lazard and Mason had great week 1. So it's definitely possible. You're welcome, Luis. No problem. Superflex 8 league. Ooh, jeez. JJ, Garrett Wilson, Cup, Ayuk, Devonta Smith, Stroud, Brock, Geno. Who should I start? Stroud and Brock Purdy. JJ Wilson. How many flex spots do you have? JJ Wilson, Cup, if you have another flex spot, Smith. But Stroud and Brock for sure, Michael. And I hope you have running backs somewhere on the team. Waddle for MH. I prefer Waddle right now. But, I mean, if you wanted to do this trade, I'm not, like, 100% against it, I guess. But I still prefer Marvin Harrison Jr. So, or Jalen Waddle, I'm sorry. So, but, yeah, I'm not. I think this is just a relatively lateral trade. You know, this whoever you have is just going to be your wide receiver 2 on your roster all year long. Tommy, appreciate you, bro. One more if I can. Jordan Mason, a must hold all year. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's going to be involved even when C-Mac's back, whether we like it or not. And he's the best handcuff in fantasy if C-Mac is back. And yeah, I think you probably got to hold him unless it's just like we're getting into week 13, 14, maybe week 12, and you're making a playoff push and you have to make a drop, you know. So for the most part, I will say yes. Andrea, have a good night. Appreciate you. George, how long should I try to write out Najee and Adams? Not sure how long it'll take for one of them to have an actual boom week. I mean, The volume was still fine for both those guys, so I just continue to ride it out. I mean, Adams, lower target share than we'd like. He had just 6. The game script was there, but really Minshew is the problem there. So yeah, I mean, he's a bit touchdown or bust, and that was kind of the concern going into the year. And Najee, at least the volume was much better. And I don't know if they're going to, at some point get Jalen Warren more involved. Maybe the injury held him back a bit, but Najee was the clear cut workhorse running back there. So it might take some time. Always happy to help you, Chase, of course. Guess when a boom week happens, who should I target for where those guys are value-wise? It depends on how big the boom week is. I still think Adams has draft capital banked in. You're going to want to look, when it comes to Najee for teams that are RB needy, for Adams teams that are wide receiver needy. It's going to be tough to evaluate at this point in time, but you're probably going to have to target players that were drafted close to where those two guys went, unfortunately. I mean, for Adams, maybe fortunately, but we'll see. All right, guys, that's going to do it for tonight. Don't forget, like I said at the beginning of the stream, we have just about everything that you guys need out on the channel for the week. So start, sits, every player, every position, every matchup, wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, tight ends. We have must-start kickers just went out today. Must-start defenses and streams are out. Still have our waiver wire video out if you want to take a look, see if anyone's still available. And tomorrow through Saturday, we will have must-start wide receivers, must-start running backs, players that will absolutely dominate week 2. We'll have a buy low trade video and last-minute waiver wire additions on Saturday as well. So plenty of content out already for the week, plenty of content continuing to come out for the week. I will be live Friday night for sure. Don't know if I'm going to be live tomorrow night. I know I won't be live before Thursday Night Football. I might be able to hop on after the game. Not 100% sure just yet. So Friday night, I'll be live. Pete will probably be here. Saturday night, I'll be live. Should always be live Saturday nights and Sunday mornings. So check out the videos. Don't forget the best place to get an answer from me is going to be either in the live streams when I'm able to stream or in the YouTube comment section. Go drop a comment on one of the videos during the day if you want to hear back from me, because I'm answering those whenever I can. To end the stream, we got Quinn. T. Higgins or Amari Cooper rest of the season? I'll go Amari Cooper because I don't want to deal with the T. Higgins experience. So that's my answer. But going into the season, I like T. Higgins more. So kind of tough. Quarterback plays right now questionable for both, but I guess I go Cooper. So all right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it. Hit the like, do all the YouTube stuff. If you guys are new to the channel, and you join, thank you. If you subscribed, if you didn't subscribe. Videos are out, all that good stuff. Links are down below. Love you guys, man. Love this community. Love the Catch fam. I'll talk to everyone soon. With that, I'll say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening tonight. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch. And peace.